Welcome to Your Best Interviews. My name is Eric Smith. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I know there's a lot of places you can go to get this information, so I appreciate you spending it here with me. If this is helpful, please share with others. My goal is to help as many people as possible during this time, and I can do that through you sharing, liking, subscribing. Again, I want to add impact. I want to help as many people as possible. You can help me do that. Today, what I want to talk about are the most actionable things that you can do to give yourself a leg up and crush phone interviews. So I can rant on this stuff for a long time. I'm going to give you the six, and then I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with those six in particular. But number one, practice. I know that seems like the most obvious one, but practice, practice, practice. Number two, smile. You have to smile. It comes through on the phone. People can hear it. So you have to smile. Number three, lay out all of your materials ahead of time, right in front of you. Don't be fumbling through papers. That's the worst way to do it. Lay out all your materials in front of you. Number four, have a one sheet. I go in more depth on what a one sheet is, but you need to have a one sheet. It's a quick reference guide. Again, I'm going to go in detail into all of these, but have a one sheet, number four. Number five, do your due diligence, know enough about that company. Make sure that you've got all of your questions written out ahead of time, because every phone interview, well, I shouldn't say every, most phone interviews are about 30 minutes. They're going to ask you a series of questions, and then they're going to leave time at the end for you to answer some of those questions. You want to make sure you have questions ready and that they're written out ahead of time and that they're related to that company. Last piece of asking questions and making sure you have questions written out ahead of time is you want to make sure that you're probing to find out, are there any red flags, any barriers, any hesitations to moving you forward in that process? I'll get more into that, but that should be folded into number five of asking questions and having those ready. And then number six is asking for follow-up. You have to ask, what are the next steps? How can I make sure that I'm understanding kind of what your timeline is and when I should be following up and what you can expect from next steps? So those are the six. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into each one of these. So for practice, I could talk on forever on how to practice for this. You have to practice. You have to practice very, very differently, right? So most people, how they practice is they'll do it 5, 10 times because it's awkward. It feels weird to practice talking about yourself, talking to yourself. I promise you, it's more awkward talking to a stranger about yourself and trying to sell them on who you are. And so you have to get really comfortable with kind of that awkward behavior. And so you have to practice. And I mean practice all the time. If you're trying to get the job that you really want, think about the long-term impact of that and think, okay, I need to be spending as much of my available time on getting ready to crush so I can get into that role. So you have to practice all the time. Next, you have to practice in really weird ways. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions so that you're well-versed and ready when the actual interview happens. And what I mean by that is maybe you're doing mock interviews with your friend over the phone. It's awkward to talk to your friend. It's awkward to try and take those seriously. It's more awkward talking to a stranger and trying to sell them. So put yourself in these uncomfortable positions. Do mock calls with your friends. Do mock interviews with them. Send them a list of the interview questions that you practiced, list of 100, and say pick 10 and ask me these, and try and take it as seriously as I am. The other thing is practice in front of a mirror. No one's a harsher critic than you on yourself. So practice in front of a mirror. Practice answering all these questions in front of a mirror. You can see how your body language shifts when you're answering certain questions. You can see if you're smiling or not. That's such a huge one. Practice in front of a mirror. Last piece of practice is for the phone interview. If you're going to use headphones, make sure you're practicing with headphones in. I know that seems odd and weird, but I'm telling you, it sounds different when you have headphones in and you're talking. You cancel some of that outside noise, and it sounds like you're talking too loud or not loud enough. So as you're practicing, practice exactly how you're going to have your setup on the day of the interview. So if you're going to use headphones, put your headphones in. If you're going to actually talk with your phone up to your ear, do your practice with your phone up to your ear. It already sounds different for me when I have my ear covered up on my phone. So you have to practice exactly how you're going to run your interview on the day of. Next, smile. You can hear it. It comes through the phone. You have to smile. It will help you move forward in the process. And that is the ultimate goal of moving forward in the process. So smile. Make sure that they can hear it through the phone. Number three, I believe, yes, number three, lay all your materials out in front of you. Worst thing you can do is they ask you a question, you want to reference something, you're fumbling through papers. Have it all laid out in front of you. Have your resume here, so when they ask you questions about your resume, you can quickly reference that. have your one sheet. So all the facts about yourself, I'm going to go into that next, but your study guide basically on you and all the answers based on most likely scenarios that they're going to ask you, have all that in one sheet right in front of you so you can quickly reference it. Make sure you've got all the questions that you have written out about them, due diligence on the company. Maybe it's notes on the company or who you're meeting with. And then make sure you've got a sheet of paper that you can record your own notes, but have it all laid out in front of you perfectly so you can just quickly reference things by just shifting your eyes instead of having to fumble through papers. Number 4, have a one sheet. I have other videos on the one sheet. I can't go too deep into it because it's a longer topic, but you should have a one sheet. Everyone should have a one sheet for phone interviews and in-person interviews. It's just like back in the day in high school when you could have a study guide or a one piece of paper with all your notes and it was kind of open book on that one sheet of paper. It's the exact same with interviewing. You want to be able to quickly open a folio and reference something if you blank. Or on that phone interview, you want to be able to quickly reference, like, what are my strengths? What are my key characteristics that, make me a perfect fit for this role? What are my chameleon stories? All these things are quick reference pieces for you, and it's all on one sheet directly in front of you. That's what the one sheet is. That's what it's there for. Make sure you have that in front of you. Make sure it's filled out and it's accurate for the role that you're applying to. Number 5, make sure you've done your homework and that you've got questions prepared. You should have questions about that company already prepared. You should know enough about them, their space, their industry, their competitors. Make sure you've got your questions because they're going to say, what questions do you have for me? You don't want to say you don't have any. You want to have questions. You want to make sure they're relevant for who you're talking with, but have those questions ready, have them written out. One of those questions at the very end should be, I loved our conversation. I was super motivated to talk with you. I'm even more motivated after 30 minutes of connecting. I'm even more confident that I'm the right fit. But I want to make sure any barriers or anything that you heard today that would prevent you from moving me forward in the process that maybe I can add a little bit more color to. That's exactly how you ask that question. It's super awkward because you're asking them to give you negative feedback in the moment. But the benefits of this is if they share something, maybe they'll say, I'm a little concerned because your experience doesn't sound real strong in this. Maybe you thought you conveyed your experience in the right way to show that you're a good fit, but maybe they heard it differently. And so you're giving them the chance to kind of, you're giving them the chance to out the reasons that they might not move forward in the process, right? And it gives you that chance that this added benefit that most people don't do, right? They hope that their interviewer got everything that they needed. You're giving yourself this added chance of being able to overcome those objections or those barriers to moving you forward and say, like, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's actually on me. I should add a little bit more color as to why I think I am a great fit because of that area. And then explain why you're a fit or explain why that shouldn't be a concern for them. All of these things are just, again, helping you move forward in the process. But without asking that question, you don't know where they're stuck or maybe why they won't move you forward. And so when you ask, you give yourself the chance to overcome that obstacle and to change how they perceive you as a candidate that should move forward. And that's a huge leg up that a lot of people don't do. So that's part of number 5. When you're asking questions, the last one should be anything that you heard today that would prevent you from moving me forward that maybe I can add more color to. And then number 6, next steps. Always ask for those next steps. You want to make sure you understand what the timeline looks like and how you should be following up so that you know exactly what their process looks like, what you can expect from a timeline standpoint. So if you have other opportunities running, you know kind of where you are in that process with that company. So ask for those next steps, push for kind of those next steps. And again, these are the 6 things that will help you the most prepare and crush a phone interview so that you do move forward in the process. Good luck.